Welcome to the REI Hacker Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of real estate success. Join us as we dive into the journeys of top investors, mentors, and industry experts. Learn from their experiences and navigate the highs and lows of the investing world. And now, let's hand it off to our host, Benson Juarez.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. I'm very fortunate today to have a special guest. His name is Sharad Mehta. He is the founder and CEO of RE Simply. It's a real estate investing software that helps people close more deals, save time, and do it all with a lower marketing cost. He's also the CEO of Max Properties. It's based out of Carlsbad, California, but he operates 100% virtually in the Midwest, and it allows him to do fix and flips. And they currently have over 50 properties in their portfolio, and they've done over 750 deals in the last 10 years or so, which is extremely impressive. Sharad, thank you so much for taking the time and being here. I'm really excited to talk to you and learn more about you and your company and what you're working on.
Absolutely, Benson. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast, man. Really looking forward to our discussion.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for taking the time. We were just talking earlier,
pleasure.
and you got a little one who's running around the house, and I can imagine it's a challenge to balance everything you're doing with growing your company and also having a family. How is it that you do that?
It's the spring break, man. It's the spring break going on this week. Yeah. But no, I've been very fortunate. I've been working from home since 2011. I think the biggest challenge for me, and this was like before I had kids, the biggest challenge for me was, and it still is, like how to be disciplined with your time.
Yeah.
When you get the freedom of time and money, that comes unexpected challenges. That what do you do with the time that you have? So that's always been a struggle that I try to deal with. But with family, I've been fortunate. Kids go to school, I get to work from home. And get some work done before they come back. But it just happens to be spring break. Yeah. Our kids are home.
That's great. And so is your family involved in your business at all, or is it completely separate from what you're doing every day?
Completely separate. Yeah. My wife, she has her own full-time job that she absolutely loves. So yeah, family is not involved in the business.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. And so your background is of Indian descent, correct?
It is correct.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
how has it been for you as, being, coming from either an immigrant background or being an immigrant working in the US? Has it been a challenge for you, or do you think that it gives you some sort of, some differentiators in your life to be able to say, I'm a little bit different here. I'm of a Hispanic background, and,
Right.
there's pros and cons of both, but how has it been for you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, man. Nobody's asked me that question. I think, like you said, there's pros and cons. I can't do anything about the cons, but I can just focus on the pros that come with it, and then, try to leverage that as much as I can. It gives me advantage in the sense, that I have a little bit more um, exposure to, like, living in a third world country. There's some things that I don't take for granted that people living in US, born and brought up in US, might take for granted. And then also I'm more comfortable working with people from different background, which if I don't know if I would have been if I were born and brought up here, if I would have been comfortable, but so I try to, we built a totally virtual company. I had not even met a lot of people in my team until last month, that I'd not even met a lot of my people when I actually, flew down and met some of our team members. But that's the advantage that comes with it, where you just focus on people's work ethics and not really care about the background, as long as they're working hard. That's all that matters. And coming from an Indian background, I don't know if it's not necessarily Indian background, but just coming from the cultural or my family background, I'm a little bit conservative guy, which has helped me in my investing. I've taken some big risk, but they've always, been conservative in my approach, taking the big risk, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I've been involved with several technology companies, and one of the companies I was with back in 2012, we did work with Indian developers, and I found it to be like a really, pleasant experience, and opposite hours, obviously, right? So we had somebody who was doing the day-to-day management. Has that been an asset for you to be able to work with people from that country, and to help you with development, and also the costs involved?
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest benefit of working with overseas developers have been the cost, but then it comes with their own sets of challenges, right?
Mhm.
Language is one big challenge that you have to manage. The time zone is another challenge. So
Yeah.
like, I've adjusted my schedule to work with the, the scheduling of people in India. But then it comes to another set of challenges. Let's say if I want to replace myself, will be very challenging for me to just find someone. And then, let's say if I'm launching another product, launching another company, just to find someone to replace me, they'll have to have some understanding of working with people from India, for example, if, they're not
Mhm.
from India. So it comes with their own set of challenges, which I'm currently dealing with. I mean, we have people in India, Philippines, Bangladesh, US, which is great. We have a very virtual team, but then when it comes to how do we have a unified culture when you have people that
Yeah.
speak different languages, that have totally different cultural values, what's important to them, what's like, what do they celebrate? I mean, something as simple as what holidays people celebrate, what holidays they don't celebrate. So that's been a challenge. Um, Not the worst problem in the world to have, but still it's a challenge to bring everyone together and say, hey, this is our company culture, but what else do we connect on a personal level? So that's a challenge that we haven't been able to solve yet.
Yeah. I think it's a similar challenge that a lot of people are going through right now, especially since COVID, and a large part of the workforce is now working remotely, even if they're US based and they work for a US based company. There's that kind of trend of doing the home based
Right.
work. And we're finding something similar, like building that culture within our groups to work together, and that bond that you get with somebody who's sitting, and who's next to you, or in the office
Oh,
or in the
yeah,
office over,
absolutely.
and you
Yeah,
get to go to the lunchroom and sit down and have a
100%.
conversation with people, and those things aren't present
Right.
necessarily when the majority of your workforce is remote.
Right.
um, what kind of steps have you taken to bridge that gap so that you can get these bonds that are built potentially, and also, helping to reinforce your culture?
Yeah, I think for one, like we have like the marketing team, the CS team and development team, they have really great culture within their own silos, but it's
Hmm.
the company-wide culture, that we're struggling with a little bit. It's not a struggle, but it's just, figuring out how to have like a common culture that we all share, that we're all part of.
Yeah.
One thing that did help was I flew down to Philippines, India, and Bangladesh a few weeks ago, just met everyone in person. But then when I was in Philippines, I met the team in Philippines. When I was in India, I met the team in India. When I was in Bangladesh, I met the team in Bangladesh. So it was great building culture with like CS team, development team, marketing team. But then,
Hmm.
you know, they have their own culture that, they're building in the CS team. Um, the goal would be this year or next year to just build everyone at one central location and just meet and get to know each other a little bit better. I think that would be the next step. Zoom is great, absolutely great tool for productivity, but it can never replace, the in-person bonding that you get as a team. There's something about
Yeah.
just meeting with someone in person, like they're, reading their body language and just having lunch together or meal together. It goes a long way. Just when you're in person, when you jump on a Zoom call, there's always an agenda. Hey, let's just talk about this. Let's just get through this. But when you're meeting in person, you still talk a little bit about business, but then there's other time that you fill in with more information about your person. Like, hey, this is kind of what's going on with my
Right.
kids, with my family. But that doesn't happen so much on Zoom calls. We do certain things like every weekly call that we do, we'll go around everyone in the meeting and ask them like an icebreaker question. Hey, what's the top thing on your bucket list? Or, like those sort of questions that we list of questions that we go through. What's your favorite uh vacation that you've
Right.
ever taken? Or, what did you want to be when you were a kid, when you grew up? So
Yeah, that's good. I like that you guys are being creative
yeah,
there. It can be a challenge. And some people still will shut down. It's much easier to hide right on
right,
Zoom and not be part of things when it's in person. Um, I want to talk more about RE Simply and the value proposition there, but I'm really interested in how you run your business because there's a lot of
sure,
people out there that are doing the virtual assistants is really like a popular thing now and being virtual in different countries. I've got people in Venezuela, in the Philippines, and so that is great because I love the cost benefit. In your opinion, what do you think? Let's just say it was a percentage of like hiring the same person here in the US versus, Bangladesh or the Philippines or India. Let's just say from like a development perspective, like what do you think that cost savings is?
uh so about 50%.
Hmm.
Yeah, 50%. Yeah, we get 50% of the cost saving after you factor in, lost in efficiency. Again, if you had someone in US or someone in the same time zone working with you, I think you'll have a little bit more efficiency. Like right now, when I'm taking calls with my team, I'm taking calls late in the evening. So I'm a little
Right.
burned out, not have the most willpower to take those calls. So I could be a little bit more productive, a little bit more efficient. So you lose that. So I would say about 50% cost saving.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
significant, especially for anybody who's listening and they're a startup, right? And cost is like one of the most important things they're paying attention to.
Right.
So, it is a great way to kind of bridge that gap and get, a minimum viable product or some sort of
Absolutely.
a beta product out for people to test and get that customer feedback so you can
Right.
start to iterate and create the products, which you've done, right? You've got a product now that is out in the marketplace. And so tell me what RE Simply does.
So recently it started out as something I personally needed for my business. I used to live in Chicago and I was investing in Indiana. I still invest in Indiana. 2015, I moved to Carlsbad, San Diego area, and I started looking at, I realized I didn't have any systems and processes in my business, no tool that I was using. So I started looking at, so it was end of 2015 that I moved. So in 2016, I started looking at, okay, what software and tools I would need in my business. And pretty much everyone back then was using Podio, which is great, but it just gives you a platform. Then you have to go out, back in the day, get like Globiflow, you have to get a dialer, you have to get a website. I just didn't like the idea of, you know, like I didn't feel like anybody got up in the morning excited about integrating a bunch of different software. At least I
Right.
wasn't. So, um, I hired a couple of developers and just have them create something very specific for my business need. Initially, just something that I needed, and certain specific things that I needed to be done. We're close to that vision now, but the vision was everyone on my team, from my marketing team, my acquisition team, my project management team, my accountant, my bookkeeper, everyone should be on the same software. We shouldn't have to
Mhm.
use multiple software. We shouldn't need to integrate any software. So that's where we're at right now. We have some other updates coming, some big updates coming this year, but everyone in my house flipping team everyone is on Recently, from my, down to my bookkeeper, my accountant. But that was the vision from day one, was it had to be a software that was simple to use. That's the name, Recently. It was simple to use, and everyone, it should be a true all-in-one software for real estate investors who run their business from. They shouldn't have
Mhm.
to jump from one software to another, integrate this software with that software. It wasn't something I know I wasn't going to do. And I figured there would be other people who didn't like the idea of that.
Right. So you've heard the concept of the jack of all trades, right? Like when you
Right.
do a lot of things, it's hard to do like one thing really well. Have you found
Right.
that to be a challenge?
It has been a challenge, but that's where we're trying to be more proactively listen to our customers and develop certain things more, make them more
Mhm.
comprehensive than some of the other things. Yeah, that has been a challenge, but it's been a great challenge for us to learn from our customers, looking at the data of customers. Okay, what segment of customers do we want to target? Do we want to target customers that are just starting out, or do we want to target customers that are actually already doing business? They just need a good system to run their business. And then, looking at that data and speaking to those customers and finding, okay, what is it that's really important for you? Would
Yeah,
it be a new set of feature that you would like to see, or is it something that we already have, you would like to see it being developed more? So that's what we're going back and having conversations with our customers and creating a roadmap based on that.
gotcha. So you're talking about everything from lead generation, so some marketing functions, I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
everything except pulling lists you can do within
Mhm.
Simply.
Okay.
Yeah, so driving for dollar, list stacking, skip tracing, cold calling, website, phone
Hmm.
system, buyer websites, text blast, email blast, bookkeeping, accounting.
Got it. Got it. So the bookkeeping and accounting portions of it, right? So that would be require some input of data, right? Because they have to put in, the revenues and the expenses and, create basically
I mean, it's like
like a
think of it like it's
profit and
replacing
loss.
replace QuickBooks. I don't
Replace
use QuickBooks
QuickBooks.
in my business. I haven't used
Okay.
QuickBooks in the last 2, 3 years. A lot of our customers don't use QuickBooks anymore. They just do all their bookkeeping and accounting within Simply. So that's
Got
the
it.
extent of like integration that we have, like the features, functionality that we have built in.
Wow. That's a big lift. That's very impressive, because every day that we're talking about on our end, do we buy or build? Right. And
Right.
so there's like, okay, do I want to go out and create a new QuickBooks or just use it? Right. And then, so what's the benefit of it being integrated and having it in one place?
I mean, when you think about QuickBooks, so for example, if you're a real estate investor and you're using QuickBooks, and I asked you, hey, Vincent, can you go into QuickBooks account and tell me your cost per lead, your cost per deal? You can do that, right? It's
Right.
not possible with QuickBooks. So QuickBooks is built for, it's a generic accounting software that's built for everyone, but it's not built for any specific industry, right? For
Right.
example,
So
the
we're talking
language
about
that
the
you use,
analytics and the KPIs,
yeah,
right?
that are
So
like
because you
way
have
more
all that in one
advanced.
place, you can get
That's way more
better.
advanced. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we can tell you like cost per lead, cost per deal down to the penny,
Hmm.
ROI for every dollar that you're spending on every single marketing channel, how much money you're making on it.
Right.
It's not possible with QuickBooks. You'll need an someone to do analysis of your books and then compare it with your CRM. You would have to do integration, like do it in Excel, but you just literally click and it's real time KPIs.
Hmm. Gotcha. It's so important too that you've built this based off of your own needs in your own real estate business, right? Like a lot of people build software and they're just kind of like creating demand. Like oh, I think someone would want this. But
Right.
this is something you built out of your own needs, which makes it all that more valuable.
Yeah, the initial, I mean, it's grown like way beyond my needs, and I'm still flipping, a couple of dozen properties a year, but it's grown way beyond my needs. I mean, we have investors that are doing 25, 30 deals a month now, using our platform. So it's definitely grown way beyond my specific needs, but it initially started out with something that I needed for myself. I come from an
Mhm.
accounting background, so that's why like having that KPIs and having the accounting system built in was probably important. If I did not come from an accounting background, I
Right.
may not have, stressed so much on that. But that's been kind of why, my background has influenced, how we build the software. So it's been absolutely fantastic. Now we're just very actively listening to, hey, what do our customers need? it would be,
Mm.
I may think something is super cool to build, but would someone pay for this? Would they
Right.
actually see value in this? Just running those surveys where, like, just last week, we had a great idea and we just put it on our Facebook group. Hey, but I put a poll, hey, would you pay for this if we had this? It was interesting. I thought it would be 100% yes, absolutely love this idea. But 60% of the people say it's nice to have. I won't pay for it, but if it's there, I'll use it, but I won't pay for it. I'm like, okay, thanks. We don't have to waste our time and effort on developing this now.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so smart. So many companies just don't do that. They don't
Yeah.
query their current customers or potential customers to
Right.
see. And so, yeah, that's a great way of not, developing products that people don't want,
Right.
right? So the space in this industry where with kind of real estate marketing platforms and CRMs and other functions, there's some good competitors there. Who do you think are your closest competitors?
Um, so like Podio or high level Salesforce.
Okay, so
Yeah.
none of those are like real estate centric type platforms. They're just kind of general platforms, CRMs, and that sort of thing. So that's interesting that you
Yeah.
didn't mention anything that was in the real estate space.
Yeah. I mean, this is like looking at our data, I'd say, yeah, Podio, Go High Level, and Salesforce. More
Hmm.
Podio and Go High Level.
Gotcha. Very cool. Yeah, so there's lots of people out there building products right now, and it seems like every week I hear about somebody new who's building their own software. Um, what would you tell somebody who's thinking about building their own product right now? Would you say, yeah, go for it, or would you advise against it, or what kind of advice would you give them?
I mean, I would say if you're going to create something, just make sure it's at least 10 times better than what's already on the market, right?
Hmm.
Um, if you're just going to create something just because it's easy to create, you can like automate a lot of things, you can hire developers cheaper, yes. But, are you moving the industry forward as a whole, right? Are you just
Right.
being another product, or are you just taking the industry forward in some way? I think that's something you have to ask yourself. Are you like living up to your potential by creating the product that you are? If you have one specific feature that may be different, great. Like, you know, yes, if you were to compare this product A with B, yours might be better, but then you're just starting out, right? There's going to
Hmm.
be a huge learning curve. And is it worth going down that rabbit hole of just creating something that's slightly better and you're competing against existing products that are already in the market? So
Yeah.
yeah, and I would say do a lot of customer research, and see if people do people even care about the software that you're creating.
Yeah. I think there's always a place. I mean, the big move right now is AI, right? So
Right,
that was one of the big topics out at the Family Mastermind in Tampa. They had a whole segment on AI, and there's just an overwhelming amount of cool things
right,
that AI does. But my biggest question always is like, is it going to make you money, right? Is it going to
right.
save you time, make you money? Where do you see AI really influencing um, the real estate investing industry?
Um, I honestly don't know.
Mm.
Uh, yes, it's gonna make certain things easier. I mean, there's a lot of cool things that are happening in AI space. I'm sure there's eventually going to be some regulations around it. You're already hearing about uh, people getting scammed because of these, AI tools that can like duplicate your voice and then, scam you for money. So there's going to be some regulations around it. I don't want to bet my last dollar, oh, this is the direction that we're going to go in. It's going to move fast, but as long as we're ready to keep pace with it, I'm okay with that, but I don't want to like bet our company's future on, hey, this is the direction we're going to go in. So for
Yeah.
that, we look at some of the other bigger, like if I just look at CRM space as a whole, I'm not talking real estate investing space, but if I just look at CRM space as a whole, like what is Salesforce doing? What is HubSpot doing? They're like billions of dollars ahead of us. What are they doing? Is there an aspect of that that we can implement in our business, right?
Right.
That's what I would look at, but I don't know. I mean, it's there's a lot of cool things, like you said, but what's really adding value, right? What is it
Right.
that's really going to add value? I mean, what is going to be that thing that changes people's behavior on how they've been doing things so far?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't have answer to that. I would be curious kind of what your thoughts are on that.
The biggest thing that I've seen is content creation, especially in
Yeah.
writing, like
Yeah,
writing
that's yeah, of course.
sales copy,
Yeah.
email copy. Like it's amazing what some of these
Yeah.
prompts can create
Yeah.
when you just give it, you know, and then iterate too. Like you give it an initial
Right.
prompt and say, write me an email that sells, you know, this, like
Yeah.
Simply, right? And so, you can probably go into like Chat GPT right now and ask what Simply is, and it's going to search to see what it can find. And you as a proprietor, you should definitely like teach it what it is so that if
Right.
anybody else asks, but then you can, once it knows what it is, then you can say, write me a sales letter that does these, bullet points.
Right.
And it pumps out some amazing,
Yeah.
amazing copy that I've used. I always tweak it because it's never perfect and it sounds like an AI
Right.
bot wrote it, but it's a huge time saver.
It is. Yeah. No, I mean, I use ChatGPT all the time and just like give it some prompt. Uh, but I think, yeah, that's where I would say so far, that's what I've noticed it being most valuable is
Hmm.
content creation. At least in our business need is where we've noticed a content creation is much, much easier writing email copies and having it run through ChatGPT or other AI platforms and just like, spit it out and say, okay, this sounds great. And just run with it, make some tweaks. But I don't know um, how it will impact real estate investor industry specific. We have AI built in recently where if a seller sends you a text message, you can let AI overtake that conversation. We built it
Hmm.
about a year and a half ago, but then we kind of put a pause on it because of all the A2B 10 DLC regulations, coming out.
Hmm.
Um, so we didn't want people to like overuse that. It's out there, beta version available to our enterprise users. But then we kind of put a hold on it, put a pause on it where we didn't want people to just like overdo it and then carriers start flagging that. So, you have to be very careful with how you're leveraging it in your business and you don't overdo it. Especially,
Yeah.
like with like texting is a great place I can see it adding value if we did not have A2P10 DLC regulations. If we did not, we would be like, hey, let's just go really deep into it because it can absolutely be a huge, huge time saver. But now that you have this overlay of A2B10 DLC regulation, you have to take a step back and say, okay, is it really worth it where you let AI take over a conversation, your messages start getting flagged by the carriers and it ends up impacting you in a bigger scale. So you have to
Right.
do that balancing act. And I don't know which way it's going to go. We have some investors that we work with, they're looking at leveraging AI for the voice taking over, replacing their lead manager, for example, and letting an
Hmm.
AI take over initial lead qualification in their business. I tested out with, this one of the customers that we have. I tested out. It was great. It sounded very much human-like. But then when I asked any question that was not part of the content, it just didn't know what to do. It just completely went silent. But
Right.
that's very early stages of it. Like you couldn't even imagine this like 3, 4 years ago, a few years ago, that something like this would happen. So I'm sure there's going to be some, more value add that's going to come. And then we just need to keep
Hmm.
pace with it and say, okay, how do we take part of the AI and then implement it into our business, but it's going to truly add value and not just, sell stuff and use AI name, is it
Right.
really adding value or just like you're adding AI to your product, but it's not really doing anything? I was
Yeah.
talking to some investors or, at one of the last family mastermind, and there's a couple of companies talking about they're going to make these, prompts to find properties easy. Hey, find me a single family house worth 300,000 with 3 bedroom, 2 bath. I said, that's great. But I think for me, it'll probably just easier to use filter, you know. But that's just me personally, rather than typing up
Right.
a whole prompt, hey, find me a single family house, $300,000 or less, and they just like constantly keep tweaking the prompt. I'm like, that's great. It sounds really cool to be able to do that for AI to read. When you think about it, is somebody really having is pain point? Does someone really have a pain point of using a filter, right? Is it really a
Right.
pain point for someone that they don't like using filter? They would rather like type out than just like click a few things. So that's when you really have to like step back and say, okay, I can use AI, but is it making my end users life easier? Or it's just like
Mhm.
it sounds really cool, but it's not really adding any value, you know?
Yeah. That's a tough one. You're right. The filters do all of the work, and then an algorithm
Right.
is doing the
Yeah,
filtering of the
exactly.
data, right? So that's
Exactly.
real low level development, right? It's just basic
Yeah.
algorithms or machine learning. Um, where I see potential movement in the AI space with regards to like the data is potentially like identifying trends.
Yes, that exactly. That's where the AI would come in. Yeah, I totally see it based on looking at these millions of records, billions of records. These are like the top 20 properties that you should go after, based on like
Yeah.
doing some machine learning and trend analysis. 100% agree with that. But just
Yeah.
when people just add AI to their product just to make it sound cool, you have to like step back and say, all right, is AI really making my life easier here? Or is it just like AI for the sake of AI added in there?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I completely agree. The challenge, I think, for any business owner who's looking to implement AI is AI changes so quickly and advances so fast. By the time you
right,
make a decision to implement it and then you fully implement it, it's like almost already obsolete.
right,
And the
exactly.
and the newest and greatest thing is new. So it's
Yeah,
like that. It moves so quickly. Like it's a challenge, and any company that can do it effectively, I can admire and
yeah,
respect because it's a huge challenge. You almost have to have a whole department of people that just
exactly.
focus on that. And they're iterating internally. Like they've already decided to use it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. And
just
feel confident enough that this is the direction we're going to go in.
yeah,
So as the founder of the company, I also have to realize what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are.
yeah,
I've realized that I'm not very good at like predicting what's going to happen like 5, 10 years from now, but I take pride in like we're really good at execution. When it comes
mm,
down, we need to execute. We'll be really good at executing that. So that's what I need to focus rather than worrying about, hey, where the trend would be in a year or 2 years from now, and then just like bet the entire company on that. That's not something I'll feel confident with.
right.
Yes, if it's like part of the company's resources that we allocate and see, if it's worth taking the risk, that's okay. But just like completely change the direction of the company, I don't feel comfortable with that. But I know once we see a trend moving in a certain direction, then we can just come in and be like, all right, we're going to execute this and going to execute this better than anybody has ever done. That's
Yeah.
that's where the strength of our company is.
Yeah, that's a great point because that actually flows over into any company, right? Not just software. It also like people's real estate businesses.
Right.
And we all know about the failure rate of people who start in real estate investing and never, well, they don't succeed. I mean, most of them don't even close one deal,
Yeah.
right? And so Resimply is going to be a tool that is going to be for people who have already proven to themselves that the business is viable, right? They've done a couple deals or they've got some systems or processes in place,
Right.
but they really need to find a way to scale, right?
Right.
Um, for those kinds of people, how is Simply a tool that will help them execute, or they have to already be the kind of people who can execute, and then they're just using Simply as a way to systematize it?
Yeah, I mean, Recently will make things much simpler for their business, right? I
Hmm.
mean, just imagine, imagine if you're using Gmail uh, for your email address, right? You could use Outlook for your calendar and integrate them. But does it make sense, right? Would you
Right.
rather not use Gmail for email and calendar just because it's integrated? So that's kind of how we like to think of our product. Like if you are using Resimply, right? And we have a phone system built in. You can buy phone number, call, text all from within the system. All the call recordings, everything is just right there. And there's a lot more things we can do on top of that. Or would you rather use a product and integrate your uh, dialer into it and then integrate your website, then do all these things with Zapier? Yes, you could make it work, but is it like, are you really being a real estate investor? Are you being, would you rather hire more salespeople in your business? Would you rather hire more developers to integrate the software? Right.
Right.
So that's where our value add is. If we have newbie investors or we have experienced investors, if you're looking to simplify your business where you need help closing more deals, right? You want to really have a very efficient way to run your business. That's where we add value. If you're doing a deal here and there, right? You're buying stuff from MLS, doing a deal here and there. You honestly don't need our software or any software for that matter. You could just run
Hmm.
everything on take a notepad and a pen and just run everything from that. But if you
Right.
want to do more than like a couple of deals a year and be really serious about it and eventually go do freedom of time and money, that's when you want to start looking at Resimply or other products in your business and see what would add the most value to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people who start off, they get inspired by like what
Yeah,
could be, right? Like I want to be like
right.
that person, so I want to use the same tools that they do, and it's too soon because they're already
Yeah,
drinking out of a fire hose trying
exactly.
to learn the real estate business. Like, what
Yeah,
the heck is ARV? What's cash
yeah,
flow?
exactly.
How do
Exactly.
you manage a fix and flip when project management, and managing your costs, and making sure that you don't spend all the money that you borrowed. So those
Yeah.
are those are problems that are like real problems that they don't have to go out and create new ones by just getting a bunch of crazy softwares that it's too
Yeah.
soon for them.
No, you make a really good point, Benson. Let's say, like if put in another context, let's say you go to a gym, right? And you see someone running or lifting like 50 pounds of
Mhm.
dumbbell, right? You can only lift 20. Right. Yes, you eventually want to get to that point, but you're not going to just go straight and start, lifting 50 pounds. It's not going to happen. You're going to like hurt yourself. So you start with 20, you bump up to 25, then 30. So, you take paces. It's good to be inspired by someone. But then another question you have to ask is, okay, it's great that this guy is absolutely crushing it, doing 50 deals a year, right? Do I even want that? Or am I just happy doing 10 deals a year, making 100, $200,000 net? That's just, I'm happy with because I get to do other things. So you have to look at that also, like, what is it that you want, right? There might be someone who's absolutely crushing it with cold calling, right? They're doing like 50 deals a month doing cold calling. Is that something you want to do? Are you comfortable picking up the phone and cold calling people? Right? I mean, that's a question you have to ask. Like, does it fit your personality? Right? Would you rather do that, or would you rather be like, hey, I'm happy with like doing this. I don't want to, it's great, good for him, get inspired. Or, you like, hey man, that guy's doing 50, I want to do 100. That is fantastic. But you're not going to just go straight from 0 to 100. There's going to be, you need to have certain miles. You go from 0 to, one deal, then 1 to 5, 5 to 10, and you scale your business from there with right systems and processes that you need. I think that's where
Mhm.
people just get overwhelmed with technology. Technology is there to make your life simpler, right? But then you have to leverage it properly. You have to know what stage of business or what stage of life you're in, and then use the technology accordingly. Just because, again, someone else is doing something that's working really well for them, it doesn't mean you have to do the same thing. You may absolutely hate cold calling. I would much rather do direct mail than cold calling. So that's what I'm going to go in. My cost per lead, my cost per deal is going to be high. I'm okay with that because I just don't want to do cold calling. So, that's something you have to realize, like, what is it that you're comfortable with? What is it that you can stick with for the long term? Not you get inspired and motivated to do it right now, but would you want to do the same thing 3 months, 6 months, or a year from now? That's the question you have to ask.
Yeah, I think it's an important note, just for the people out there that might be new, who are getting excited about this tool. Probably will work for them, but it's one of those things where you need to go up at in a stepped manner,
Yeah.
And get small wins along the way, right? Like
Right.
making that first call, right? So RE Simply sounds like an amazing tool for the real estate investor who's already had some success, and they're looking for some ways of scaling and integrating maybe some fragmented systems together in one place so they can save time, be way more effective and efficient. For those people that aren't interested in learning more about ReSimply or working with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, I mean, if they want to learn more about ReSimply, they can go to our website, RESIMPLI.com. And if they want to connect with me for anything that I can help them with, they can reach out to me by email, Sharad, SHARAD, @ReSimply.com.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us. I really respect what you've built, and I think it's going to be a great tool for a real estate investor who's looking to scale their business. And also, too, for people who are listening, there's a difference between people who create products to sell and people who create products to solve their own problems. And Sharad is a testament to the kind of entrepreneur who is out there doing it. He's still flipping properties. He's still adding properties to his portfolio. And so that, I believe, will make this tool a better solution for you, because he uses it in his own business, right? This isn't something that he just came up with. So please look up Sharad, and also keep an eye out for more episodes of the REI Hacker Podcast, where we bring on industry experts, real estate investing moguls, people who are having success, and mentors and coaches in the space, and we get to learn from their experiences. So keep an eye out for those in the future. Sharad, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you sharing your personal background and the information about your company, and I wish you the most success.
Thank you, Benson, for having me in. Appreciate it.
You are welcome.
Thanks.
That's a wrap on today's Real Estate Revelations. Thank you for tuning into the REI Hacker Podcast. Remember, every property has a story, and every deal is a lesson. Until next time, keep hacking the real estate world.